Today's interview is with Chloë Aldam, an MBIT master coach and trainer. She's also trained in simplicity parenting and Bowen therapy. Today we're going to be discussing how to be your best when your child is at their worst.
And so today we're going to talk about why might parents even want or need coaches, and how can we as parents be at our best even when our kids are at their worst. So how do we be that lighthouse? How do we be the port of calm in the middle of the storm? How can we make sure that in spite of whatever emotional or hormonal roller coaster our child is on, they can count on us? So that's what we're talking about today. We'll talk a bit about how we use mBraining for that on ourselves, with our clients, with our children even. And then, and then we'll look at, what other formats and possibilities are there for stepping up our game as parents in this world that we're living in. So Chloë, a brief introduction from you.
Yeah, thank you, Beth. So it's such a big parenting world that there is out there at the moment. There is so much change and it's all exponential. It's just getting faster and faster and faster. It's getting bigger, earlier, sooner. It's not slower, it's not later. And that's one of the reasons why I got into simplicity parenting, was because I'd been told by so many other parents, oh, you just have such a knack of just slowing down and being with your child and listening to them and being calm. How on earth do you stay so calm? And some of that
I've had that recently.
Yeah. Oh, being calm is so nice, isn't it? Well, part of it is my own upbringing, in which my parents decided the emotional trauma from World War II stops here now.
Oh, that's beautiful.
They had, what both of them had in the way that they were brought up, there were certain things that they went, yes, this is really good. But certain things that they said, not with our children. We're going to do it slightly differently. There's going to be more of this, more of this. And so that's what happened. So I have been imbued with this sense of, here I am in this world. And then, of course, you find out that most people have not had, call it the luxury of an upbringing like that. And it's how do you come to this later in life? And I've seen other people that have had the most appalling upbringings going, I'm ditching that for my children. And I'm doing that now.
Yes.
And they do.
Yeah.
And so the difference is with those people is they've said, I am changing and I'm doing it now. And they do. And many other people say, well, I'd like to, but I'm just stuck. I don't know how. And I recently described this with a company that I've occasionally worked for in the US called Parent Lab, who've got an app out. And they were saying, well, what kind of other ideas are there? And I said, well, there's something where sometimes people are stuck because they're stuck in themselves. And sometimes they're stuck because they don't know something. They were never given that reference material. They don't have that reference structure of.
They don't have an experience of what that feels like within their body to be able to say, okay, this is what this is like, and I noticed it, for example, during COVID, in the 2 years leading up to that, I had done meditation daily. Okay. So when chaos hit, my daily meditation continued because that was part of my daily routine.
Yeah.
And I knew what it felt like to reach that place of calm. And I had a friend who was like, how can you be so calm when we don't know what, the 2 weeks to flatten the curve, when's the 2 weeks end kind of thing. And I was like, but does it matter? All I need to be is present today.
Yeah. And then there's those beautiful sphere of, there's the sphere of control, of influence and of concern. And you it's the same thing with families. what can you do right here, right now? And for so many children, it's being present with them. But some people can't be present because as when they were growing up, their parent wasn't. Maybe there was a split family. Maybe all they saw was their parents like this at each other. So that's the only reference they've got. And they need to find it in the world so that they can feel it in themselves, so that they can then do it.
And sometimes that first experience of it is in a totally different situation, not parent-child, but you're able to then bring that into this moment here and now. And I find it so fascinating because like I can remember Isabella was 3 or 4 and wanted something in a department store, and I said no and proceeded to have a meltdown, a tantrum in the middle of the floor. You know, it's just typical 3 to 4 year old.
Yeah.
And you've got everybody looking at you, and there's that slight embarrassment of, oh my God, my child is doing this. And thankfully, what kicked in was the mBraining of, are you the place of calm? So I sat down on the floor and proceeded to calm myself.
Well done.
Okay, because it was like, okay, the first thing I need to do is not be upset and not be angry and not be embarrassed and not be ashamed.
Yeah.
But rather be calm.
Yeah.
This is a normal 3 to 4 year old. All 3 to 4 year olds do this. Every single mother that is looking at me right now has had her child do this before. There's not a single one that doesn't know this.
I can almost top that by going, how about having a meltdown in an airport when you were 5 years old? And well, we had a 5-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 6-month-old. And we were getting off an airplane, and the 5-year-old decided this was the moment in time where she'd been woken from deep sleep from this 3-hour flight, and all hell was going to break loose. And it did so for the entirety of when she was woken up, all the way down the steps. I had to carry 2 younger children, as well as the rucksacks for 2 children. And my husband took our 5-year-old over his shoulder part of the way.
Yes, exactly. Kicking and screaming. Yeah.
From the furthest gate possible from our local airport all the way in, we got to the customs hall, and the customs, we were at the very end of the queue of 300 odd people. And the customs officers, somebody came forwards and said, do you want to come forwards to the front now? There is nothing you can do when somebody is having a meltdown that big. And so we got through to the baggage hall. Instantly, we bypassed every single queue. And whoever was in charge of that customs hall that evening, well, thank you so much, because you did the best job that you could do, is to let all of those people in the customs hall have a quiet, peaceful time.
Wait, while this child goes and melts down somewhere else.
It was nearly 10 minutes, 10, maybe even 15 minutes. And for a child to keep going for that long is quite substantially
exhausting. It's exhausting to them, and it's exhausting to everybody else because your whole nervous system is on edge.
Yeah. And so it's the case of both me and my husband going, there's nothing we can do about it, but what we can do is be. We're here. Yeah. We're talking. We're keeping our heart rates maybe slightly on the high
elevated. Exactly. Yep. Not quite totally relaxed. Yeah.
And there was no shouting. There is no judgment. There is no fault. There is no blame. And the 2 of us could do this because we were in the space to be able to do this. So both me and my husband, I mean, we both got NLP skills, master NLP skills, and we are now both, me as of this summer, but both of us are mBit coach trainers. Yes. So, and we're both master coaches. And so we've been together since university. So we work really, really well together. So we've been together. We're coming on 13 years.
A few years. Yeah.
So it's just, I mean, it's designing what have you got in your toolbox as well.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Yeah.
you've mentioned that you've got meditation in your toolbox, your normal toolbox. So, I mean, some of the things that I end up providing is this.
I've taught Isabella, for example, EFT already. So at 9, she knows, because she's had panic attacks, she's had anxiety. After COVID, going back to school this year was stressful for her. And so I sat there and I took, you know, the 2 to 3 weeks leading up to going back to school, I taught her tapping. Okay. And, you know, we would tap through, I'm safe, I'm well, I'm happy, you know, and getting her back into, because tapping's something any kid can do, you know, it's easy. And if she doesn't do the points perfectly, it doesn't matter. So I taught her tapping with the 3 fingers rather than 2 or 1. That way, you know, if she slightly misses it, and
still get it. Yeah.
You'll still get it. Exactly. Okay. And so, you know, but it's being able to teach your children, when I'm not there, you can still handle this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I had a fascinating
so much stuff.
discussion.
So much stuff. Oh, it's there's a fascinating thing that comes with younger children as well, is when there's so much in the present that they don't actually have any parts to them. They only know one thing. And it's up to about the age of 7 that
then they start seeing future past.
Yeah, and they also start going. I mean, it was illustrated beautifully in our household a couple of summers ago when our middle child said, "Oh, part of me wants an ice cream, but it's really cold outside," and our youngest one went, "I don't get it. You either do or you don't."
Yes, because at 4 or 5, there is no part that some part does and some part doesn't. Exactly.
Yeah. So it's fascinating watching them dip in and out of this. And when we are aware that there is this change, we can then start looking out for it and going, the reason why those emotions are so big is because they're starting to get confused. Because are these coming thoughts? But I really want this, but I feel it's not.
I shouldn't have it. Exactly.
And it's kind of, then there's the confusion. There's parts of me and I don't know what they're worrying about and I don't know this. And so they lose it. And if we as parents can just kind of go, oh, I'm curious, my child is losing it and I've no idea why.
Right.
And how can we keep our cool when they're losing it? Or even,
I'm living through that right now with little Miss. Now she's only 9, but she's already starting development. And I got my period before I was 10. So I'm very aware now that I've started to see the first signs of development. We've had the conversations, all that sort of stuff. But I've had some meltdowns in the last 3 months that I've never had since she was 4. And I'm sitting there going, oh, hormones. That's right. Hormones.
Yes.
This does not need my response.
Absolutely. Because there are some times when words are just too much. Just being there, modeling inside yourself, where is my heartbeat? And letting them rage, letting them just, they've got to let it out. Squashing it down has done countless Victorian parenting advice.
The stiff upper lip.
Much problems. Don't squash it down in children. Let them just totally lose control whilst you are not. And keep them safe.
Yes.
And can you manage to keep them safe? Can you manage to remove all of those delicate items that you've suddenly realized that, they've grown out?
Oh gosh, do not break my glass vases. Please, the crystal vase. No, not that. Yeah.
So they know, they can read us beautifully. Just like, I mean, I've also worked with horses for so much. And I always say that my horses were also my parenting gurus because they could read me like an open book, because that's what horses are designed to do. And mine are Icelandic horses, and they have a really big connection to their kind of instinct and to their wild roots. Yes. And one of mine once looked at me getting out of the car, and I looked at him. I thought, I'm going to have a fantastic ride on you today. And I got out the car, I moved towards him, and I thought, oh, he's walked away. Yeah, he walked to the muddy puddle, got into it, rolled totally, soaked himself, and then came and met me. And I went, oh.
You little shit.
Yeah, pretty much. Mildly. And just thought, well, that's that ride gone, hasn't it? But he could read my emotions of, I know what I'm going to do. And
Yes.
I've had him now for 22 years, and he can still read
fabulous.
like an open book. I can read him as well. And I'm normally, if he's thinking of maybe cutting me up, I've already got the elbow out and in the way, and he's gone, oh, gosh, he saw it.
Well, I mean, we had a horse that if he was done with the ride, he would sweep you under trees, or he'd walk next to the trees and the branches so that they'd hit you in the face. You know, he was just, you know, obnoxious that way. I've had enough. Let's stop this now.
Yeah. And they're communicating beautifully.
Yes.
They really are. They can't, how else can they tell you? Because they're not allowed to do this, they're not allowed to do that. There's if they've got bits in their mouth, then they've got this. Yeah. So it's kind of well, how can they tell you without getting too much told off? And sometimes our children are doing exactly the same thing. And we're doing that to our children as well, as we're saying, look, can you get off that device now? Because, you know, I'm fed up with you being on your device. Oh, hang on a minute. And what are we modeling to them? That we can't get off.
And I know with little Miss, I have learned the hard way that before I hop on a call or a live with a client, you know, first I spend half an hour with her. So she's had enough of me when I get on the call that she doesn't need me in the middle of the call.
Yeah. Yep.
But make sure that her cup is full, not empty.
Absolutely.
Because if she's, you know, if she and I haven't been interacting for the last 3 hours and I get on a call and now someone else has my attention, you're giving love and attention and you're laughing. You're laughing with that person.
Yeah.
And I get hurt feelings. No, you were on the call, you know, like even the book club calls. You were on the call with 4 of your friends and you were all laughing and we didn't get any time to play. It's perfectly valid.
Yeah. And that is why I chose to spend some of my time on coming back from school. We walk back from school, and I started that tradition of walking back. And a number of the walks, I mean, I'm a parenting coach, and I was having a child walk 20 meters in front of me going, Mum said, and then talking to a friend next to her, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, exactly.
And I was going, this is actually very funny, but I can't laugh. And
exactly.
Even with you in a stewing temper, because this is where we need to be. And you need to actually express that temper, be out of sorts, so that when you come home and you request a large snack, very large snack, maybe even a second snack, you can do so in a kind manner as you realize that, oh, maybe I don't have the skills to put that snack together. And I now need to ask the person nicely that I've been being nasty to.
Yeah, exactly.
And it depends as well. I mean, there's another parenting coach, and she calls these children spicy ones, which is fantastic.
Oh, I've got a spicy one. I have a spicy one, yeah.
And they are totally different from the other ones that aren't spicy. Sometimes they go spicy, and then they become not spicy. Sometimes they are there the whole time. And sometimes it's just a stage. And so I've got one in which she's almost there, almost much of the time, apart from, of course, when she just wants loads of hugs. And they're almost, I've discovered with her, almost always, just do that hug. Be kind. And also, when you're doing that hug, no reading a book at the same time. No. It is
being present, you know, like, It is, you know, it is that entrainment of heartbeat to heartbeat of, you know, I sit there and whatever her breath rate is at, I try and mimic that breath rate. Now, I find it a little fast for me. because, you know, it's a smaller body. She breathes, you know, she breathes faster than I do. But by mimicking and mirroring. And then once I'm at her breath rate, I start slowing mine down. And funnily enough, she starts slowing hers down.
Oh, mirror neurons.
Notice how that works, okay? And it's so simple.
Yeah, it's really simple, and some people can't even do that. And I kind of go, well, can you breathe for 4 to 6 seconds for 2 minutes in a row of breathing in, breathing out, equal. And finding some people that can't do that. And you go, well, if you can't do that. Yeah, I know, because they get distracted. And it's something I've come across as well, where people are saying, oh, child with ADD, ADHD, ADD.
No. But mom and dad are distracted. So why would the kid pay attention to anything?
Right? Exactly. And if you think attention priority issues, it's not deficiency, it's priority. No. And it's the same in the adults, in the parents. Can you prioritize what you're doing? And learn that sometimes priority is, okay, the child is seeking connection. I mean, that's one of the huge things, is the connection. And some people have said, oh, I just don't want my child being in the same bed with me anymore or close to me anymore. Don't worry. By the time they get to their teenager kind of
they
time,
will never want to be there anymore.
Give them a hug. They're going, ew, human contact. And they do. For a while, they don't want contact. They're learning, this is my skin, this is me, and the touch
and that is you.
Is weird, so I don't want it. And then slowly, and these are the years that in simplicity parenting, they're kind of called the Pippi Longstocking and Huckleberry Finn years, which is rather nice. It's just getting out there, and their behavior kind of changes as well. And you've kind of got to go, okay, now that their behavior is changing, I've got to respect that, and I've got to grow with that. I'm not their governor anymore. I'm kind of helping be a bit of a gardener, where I'm kind of picking out those weeds that keep on, no, we won't have that. Thank you very much. But okay, you're wanting to learn how to use a few swear words potentially in conversation.
Oh gosh, I'm going through that right now with little Miss 9. Oh my gosh. And the problem is that I do drop swear words. You know, she does hear it out of my mouth occasionally. And, you know, so there is a very obvious double standard of me saying it's okay for me to say that word, but it's not okay for you to say it.
It's something that's really, really interesting. When is it possible? When is it actually okay? Because it's also a skill that they find out from other people. This is when you go from family learning to peer learning. And
exactly. And unfortunately, Isabella is 9, but her height-wise, she's 12. Okay. And as I said, she's already started to physically develop. So she is more in line with the body of a 12-year-old than she is with the body of a 9-year-old. So as you can understand, at school, she now has a group of friends that are 12-year-olds, not 9-year-olds. And that group of friends is already starting to swear.
Yeah.
And so I'm having to sit here and say, actually, I did the same thing. I cannot sit here and say you can't be friends with the 12-year-olds, because I was more comfortable with the 12-year-olds too, because they were my height. Their bodies were similar to mine. You know, they were going through growth spurts at the same time I was going through growth spurts. They were going through hormonal changes as I was going through hormonal changes. And as much as mentally I want her to still be the 9-year-old that has a ball being a 9-year-old, I had to sit and say, I'm going to be okay with this, because this is her development, not mine. Now, I can refer back to how my development was. And so, for example, for her 9th birthday party, it was full of 8, 9, 10-year-olds. They had a blast playing games and doing stuff that 8, 9, and 10-year-olds love. But at the same time, I know that she walks this line
Yeah.
between the 9-year-olds and the 12-year-olds.
And you've got
And I
to let
need
them
to,
do that, because her head is still 9. Her experience is still 9. Her body and physical appearance and even the hormones within it can be older. However, there's
but the development, it's like, and so, you know, I need to just show up with compassion of where she's at. This is her journey, you know, and have, you know, I've had conversations with the teachers and said, this is what's happening and this is what's going to happen from my personal experience. And I need you to just guide her.
Yeah.
But the rules cannot be black and white, because it, you know, I don't know where she's going to be at.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now,
children are so fascinating to, when I look at what the range that teachers will have within a class.
Well,
it's
exactly.
phenomenal. And you've got to be able to sort of do all of that. And it's just like parents when they have multiple children of multiple ages, or split families where you've got different age groups and different films being watched and different boundaries.
And different rules. You know, you're allowed to go to bed at 8 and you go to bed at 9. And, you know, it's like, this isn't fair. Well, no, it's not. But when you get to that age, it will be.
We are blessed with a middle child who goes, you know what, I'm tired, I'm going to bed. Even before the youngest one.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And he's been that way for many, many years, which is an absolute joy. He listens to comedy on an Echo Dot, adult comedy, Radio 4 comedy shows that go on at 6:30 or so. Sometimes he laughs at some jokes that I go, not sure he gets that entirely, but he's laughing, and I'll find out later. And he's gone off to bed to sleep because he knows he needs that downtime. Whereas our youngest is going, no, I want to be more adult. And we're going, not quite. Meanwhile, our eldest is approaching 15 and our youngest is approaching 10. And it's kind of one of these things of going, they've all got to have their balances over where they are. And I mean, the way that myself and my husband work is sometimes we have to check in with each other. Did one of you say this? Because it has happened in which one of our favorite stories, which has actually been repeated in my husband's trainings and also professional trainings when he was working for a large company. Everyone loved this one, in which I went off to see my horses one morning, and I'd already given them some sweets for that Saturday morning. And I'd gone out. Youngest possibly had been sent, and she went and she said, "Can we have some sweets, please?" And my husband said,
"Oh gosh, that was my house. That was totally my house."
And then she looked at him and said, "Mummy will never know."
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Okay, so this story is everywhere, and they all know it as well. So that's when you've got to check in when you have children.
I can remember we'd go to Mum and say, "Can we do this?" And she'd say no. So we'd proceed to march outside and say, "Dad, Mum said to check with you if we could do this or not. Can we do it?" And he'd say yes, and we'd head off, and Mum would be like, "Where's the kids?" Well, they said that you said to check with me if they could, and I said yes. And she's like, "No, I said no."
Yeah, exactly. So it just means that I mean, the two of us are ahead of the game already, because we go, "Hang on a minute, what did the other say? Did you say anything?" No. And I'll sometimes even get a ping on my phone saying, "The cats say they're hungry. Are they?" Same with the kids. And I go, "They've all been fed."
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Yeah, it's just something where you have to find that center. You have to ground yourself. You have to be aware what other people are doing and know that children will copy you. So whatever you're doing, they're going to copy. And they do so because instinct says copy. So they do.
And that's our mirror neurons, you know, and you know, So I did, I mean, we're out of time. I don't know where the time went. You know, how are we supposed to keep this to half an hour? That's impossible. Okay. So one of the little things I wanted to mention
Yes.
that I learned when Isabella was, 3, 4, she would get tummy aches in the morning before going off to school. And I realized that was anxiety. It's not a tummy ache. It's just the anxiousness of being away, of and when it got particularly bad at one stage, I sat there, I was like, no, something's wrong. There's, this is not that little butterflies, I feel a little bad. This is something's wrong. And so ended up going to school and talking to the teachers, going, what's going on? And there was one boy in the classroom who was a new kid that transferred in, who had behavioral issues and was biting other kids. Now, Isabella had never complained about him biting her, so the teacher wasn't aware that there was anything happening with her. So I sat there, I was like, is this anything to do with so-and-so? And she looks at me, she goes, yes, he bit me. And I'm like, So then we took care of that and no more tummy aches.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. But I've also, now that she's 9 and, there's changing rooms and there's, all sorts of other things happening at school as she gets bigger. I've sat there, and rather than explaining to her all the dangers bodily of what it might be, I've just sat there and made a real simple explanation of, if your tummy feels at all off when you walk into a bathroom or down a hall or upstairs, and you just get a sinking feeling in your gut that something is wrong, I want you to turn around and find a teacher. Absolutely. You do not need to explain why. Just ask them to accompany you.
That's our super sense. And there's a fantastic book out there. I know you love books, by Steve Biddulph, Fully Human, and it talks about this super sense. And this book mirrors the mBraining book beautifully in just using different parts of our body, in the head, in the chest, and also that gut feel. And that gut feel saves people's lives. It makes it helps us make better decisions when we don't. There's somebody we just go, just don't know about that. And then you go,
and it's okay to not know and not be able to put it into words and not explain what it is that's wrong. I don't need you to explain that. I just need to say, my gut fell off. That's enough for me.
Yeah. Yep. And imagine when children haven't been given that information and they don't know that they have this super sense in them. It's never been talked about. And sometimes in sharing circles in schools, they're not done always in a really
no, it's not a safe space, and that's what they don't understand is first you have to create safety.
So I've known of others in which there's been my eldest said, oh, they did it so badly in such and such a year, where a space was created. This is the time when you can say something, and somebody said, oh, I'm tired, and the person in charge of the circle said, oh, you ought to go to bed earlier. And it's kind of, wow. And she said, I know, they really shouldn't have said that. They should have said, oh, is something going on at home? Or even, oh, you're tired. I hear you.
And so often in school, especially, they're taught the rules. These are the rules, and it's hard and fast, and being able to say to them, no, it's more important to me that you be safe than that you follow the rules.
Yeah.
And if you get that gut feeling, I will back you up to break the rules.
Yeah.
And I'll fight. Okay.
We've done that for our children. Our eldest has Raynaud's, most likely. And the school rules are, you will wear this type of shoe and you will do this. So we just said, no, you won't. You'll go in the wintertime in sheepskin boots, which the school do not allow you to do. Here's the note. And then several teachers happened to say one time, oh, I've got Raynaud's. Oh, it's horrible when your feet get cold, isn't it? Because initially the school said to us, get a doctor's note. And I said, you can't get a doctor's note for something you don't have right now. So do you want her to get chilblains in up to 10 toes, which is what happened one year, in order for you
and then in order to get the note? No.
So what we did is we just slammed it through to as many people as we could until it was just accepted that she just quietly put boots on. She quietly did this. She doesn't make a big song and dance of it, but she does have a big grin going, I'm going against the rules.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
Yes, it's for the health of your body, your mind, and so we will support you in this.
Exactly.
And it's the same with children, and it's making sure that they have this solid foundation, and you need them on this really solid foundation, even if that solid foundation doesn't start at the beginning of life, maybe not even until later. It could be in their teens that this firm sort of foundation can be laid. It's never ever too late. Right. And even when parents, if you're a new parent, or if you're a parent of children that are in their teens or even in 20s, or even don't have any children, you can still be somebody who goes, well, actually, I'd like to create my foundation now. I'd like to connect myself. I'd like to align myself. I'd like to know me. Yeah. I'd like to be me. And these are the skills that I love working with. Working with those parents that are just so totally frustrated and overwhelmed. Normally, those are ones that they themselves didn't have a solid foundation. Maybe they had some foundation, but maybe they didn't have scaffolding going up from it, knowing where to go. And that's where Simplicity Parenting takes me on that. Maybe, but their body doesn't work. They're sore, they're tired, they're injured.
And that's where the Balawan comes in.
And so, I mean, that's a hands-on therapy that it can be incredibly gentle. So I've treated people who've just in the recovery from strokes, from asthma attacks, from migraine, I've treated babies, newborn. Well, I've treated my own as newborn because that was quite fun. And for colic as well, and week-old babies. And you just go, well, they've been kind of shifted and screwed around in the birth canal, or just cesarean sections or other things. They just need a little bit of different modeling from somebody else, which just goes, there's something not quite right. I'm going to let the body model and mirror that back. Oh, look, there we go. There's a change. And it's something that can be really light touch. And occasionally I might take a shortcut, and sometimes it's not as gentle as it says.
Yes, exactly.
Sometimes shortcuts are necessary to get there. And it just allows people just to kind of go, oh,
in their body. Yes.
I've got it's feeling their own body again, not just their body plus one. If they've been pregnant numerous times, or even just once, or not at all. And it's getting that feeling, that sensation back of, this is me. This is my structure. I take care of this, which is really, really important. Because
I know for mBraining, what mBraining did for me was get me out of my head and back down into my body, which allows you to get centered and grounded so much more easily. Because it's really hard to get centered if you're just in your head, because that's not center.
It isn't. And I did a martial arts for 4 years. So the center is not even, it varies.
No, exactly. That's just it. I mean, if you do any martial arts or even dancing, you know that your center is way further down in your body.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So it's kind of getting there. And also, I mean, if you look at young children move around, they know where their center is.
Exactly.
They feel it. And at some moment in time, in many people as they grow up, that center altered.
Yeah, and they lost it. They lost it. Yeah.
And frequently that can be in those early years, the years before 7. So when exploring any client issues, frequently we go, and where did this start? There. Is it in the 0 to 7? Yes.
Yes.
Occasionally it's in the minus age. And you go, oh, okay. So now let's go back to parenting history.
Exactly. And you know, like Mark Wolin has start with you. And he does a whole lot of family history stuff of, you know, what's coming through. Maybe it's not even yours.
Yeah. And I had that in my NLP practitioner course, in which I had this emotion, and I've got it written down in my notes. And very interesting, this was the word that I'd associated, this emotion, this state. And we went discovering this on the timeline. And I got back to the age of 4, and the person said, I notice you're frowning a lot. And I said, 4-year-olds don't get this emotion. It's too complex. It's made up of 3 or 4 or 5 other things. And the light dawned, it wasn't mine. I'd been gifted it by one of my parents. And this is fine, because they were doing the best job that they could. And at some time, this came out, and I attached myself to it. And it was, for whatever reason, useful. And I kind of went, oh, it's not mine. And I let it go. And in the discovery debrief afterwards, in this exercise, the trainer said, so what was the word, the state that you had? And I went, I don't know. And the person sitting next to me said, but you told it to me. You wrote it down. And I looked at my writing and I went, it's my writing. It's not my word. I've let go of it that much. It's gone.
Wow.
So these are the things that when going through parenting workshops, parenting courses, and people go, oh, it's not mine. And I say, is it good? Is it useful for you? Well, the learning is, but I don't want
But the emotion and that feeling, no.
Okay, then let's help you clear it. Let's find something else instead that you do want. And let's install it at this younger age so that you can experience it at a younger age and take it all the way through, so that you've almost got practice of it since then.
Yes.
In your imagined timeline. I mean, imagination is a fantastic thing.
Oh, so it is. It's so powerful. And when you look at it with kids, I mean, like, little Miss amazes me at what she is able to say she wants and then receives. So she told her dad she wanted a phone for her birthday, but she told me she wanted a gaming phone. I did not pass that on. What did he show up with? A gaming phone. And I sat there going, you know, she is so present. The energy is just, this is the energy. This is what I want.
Yeah. It's, children are beautiful gifts, be they your own or other people's. Watching them just shows us so much that sometimes we've forgotten. And that's why I love my horses so much. And so show me quite how grounded sometimes I'm not. And I go, oh, yeah, okay, I came into the field with a plastic bag in my pocket. Don't do that. They know. They know. Get rid of that plastic bag. It's not good. I fed them from a plastic bag once, about 20 years ago. Yeah.
Oh my goodness! And they have not forgotten that.
Nope. Once. Nope. Not forgotten. And it also means that when a plastic bag used to run over their field, instead of running from it, they ran towards it.
To it, because it might have food in it. It might just have food in it. Yeah.
So all of these other horses that are going, my goodness, it's a plastic bag, run away. And they were going, food. So it's that nature that we just have to bring our instincts back into parenting, back into being with others, and being playful as well. We've got to keep the play, the imagination, and we certainly have with our children, because I know that you're aware of occasional dinner time conversations that I've shared online every so often, in which, I mean, you can't help it. When you've got NLP trainers and mBit coach trainers, you're going to have a pretty high level of conversation that goes on, you'd think sometimes, but sometimes it can go really low, especially when our children get especially the older ones, getting very playful with their timing. So if I share this story, if that's okay, we've got time, we're getting late. So
we're way over time, so it doesn't matter anymore.
If people are here, That's fine. I'll keep going. So online, there is a video of a hippo in a zoo. And the way that a hippo marks its territory is by fanning its tail.
Scatological markings.
Fanning its tail as it's both doing a very, very kind of diarrhea poo and a lot of gas and air. And it's a hilarious video. And it truly is hilarious. I mean, my husband's watched it numerous times, and every time it catches him as well. And my eldest child said at the dinner table, she waited, this is the level of patience, until our son had a mug of water.
Water in his mouth, yes.
And then she said, you know that hippo video where it's doing those farts and its poos? What would it be like if it was backwards? And instantly you could see him just go, and then he just kind of, he lost all the water everywhere. And the thing is, it's one of these things where, yes, he felt it, he sensed it, he saw it, he heard it. Every single sense was involved in that experience. And that's how we're growing up our children. They can feel things, they sense them, and we revel in it. Because when they say to us, it's, and we kind of go, you can't use words, then don't use words. Show me.
It's okay.
Is there something like something? And if there's not, it's like something, is there another thing that you can bring in to this experience? With one child thinking about, you know, shivers, then maybe they're a little bit like lightning. The fact that you can't see where they come from, but you see where it goes from, so that you feel the shivers, but maybe that's not where it started from. And I go, I mean, how awesome is that? That they can just talk. And sometimes they can talk the hind leg off a donkey, just like I'm doing right now. I can just keep going and going. The topic of children, parenting, body work, MBIT, our feelings, our emotions.
Yeah, I could talk for hours. So, you know, I get them. So where can people find you, Chloë? I know you're on LinkedIn. I know you're on Facebook. You've got a website. Where would you like people to find you?
Well, yeah. You're welcome to explore my website, which is www.chloealdam.com. It's always a work in progress. I'm always tinkering with it because I enjoy doing that. So things add in, things disappear. It's got the majority of what I'm doing there, and the majority of the kind of courses that I can offer. And I know that with Simplicity Parenting courses that I offer, there's just the standard one, Simplicity Parenting. There's one, Discipline and Guidance, which is all of those different age groups of toddler to 9, the tweens, the teens, the different aspects of that you need to know. And then there's a wonderful one, Emotional Self-Regulation. That's that, being at your best when your kids are at their worst. I will do those in small groups. If you get a small group together, I'll run it for you at your time. Bowen therapy, well, for Bowen, you actually have to be here in Bristol.
Yes, exactly. That's in person. Yes. Yeah.
So I can't do that by Zoom. Pity, but no, I like the in-person work there. And with the MBIT coaching, well, I'm going to be doing my first coach training in Bristol much later on in the autumn. Dates yet to be tweaked, but I'm specialising doing that with educators, body workers, all of those heart-centered people that just want to change and they want to show others this change and within their practice and sphere of work. But MBIT coaching and parenting coaching, I do one-to-one coaching. Find me on my website, contact me by email, and we can have a conversation. Discovery calls, they're also good fun. Discovery calls aren't this long though. I keep them shorter.
No. Discovery calls are definitely shorter, but anyway,
Facebook and Instagram. Yeah, at the moment, I think my handle is
so much. Yeah, this has been amazing. It has been wonderful to chat with you. And thank you for all that you bring to this conversation, you know, and parenting. I mean, we're learning as we go. You know, it's not just our kids are learning as they grow up, but we're learning as parents as well. And like you say, as they age and they go through their stages, it's the letting go of what was and accepting the what is now. And that requires that we be present in ourselves as well as being present with our children. So thank you so much, Chloe. This has been gold.
Thank you, Beth. What a lovely long conversation we've had again.
I know. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
I hope you've enjoyed my interview with Chloe. You can find me at bethgray.coach or on social media. The links are below. Please enjoy the rest of my interviews with other mBit coaches to learn more about how you can master your inner wisdom by aligning your head, heart, and gut.